Right now, close your eyes. Keep them closed. Extend one arm straight out in front of you, palm facing down. Now slowly, without opening your eyes, bring that hand to touch the tip of your nose. Don't rush, do it now. You probably hit it on the first try, maybe not perfectly, but close. Close enough that you weren't surprised by your own success. That movement, that simple, unremarkable act of touching your own face in the dark, is one of the most computationally complex things your brain can do. It requires a coordinate transformation between visual space and body space that has taken evolution hundreds of millions of years to solve. And every time you do it, you are running a silent, invisible physical simulation of your own body inside your own skull. This simulation is not a metaphor. It is a literal, physical model of your body, its dimensions, its segments, its weight distribution, running on the biological hardware of your brain, 24 hours a day, every day, for your entire life. It runs while you are awake. It runs while you are asleep. It runs while you are dreaming. And if it ever, for even a fraction of a second, miscalculates the length of your arm, or the position of your shoulder, or the mass of your head, you will fall. You will miss. You will collide with the world you thought you knew. This internal model has a name. It is called the body schema. And the reason you have never heard of it, the reason it is not discussed in gyms or doctors' offices or yoga studios is because it has been hiding in plain sight inside the neuroscience literature since 1911, when a neurologist named Henry Head and his colleague Gordon Holmes first proposed that the brain must maintain a constantly updated plastic representation of the body in space to make sense of sensory input. They were right. They were spectacularly right. And their discovery has been quietly shaping our understanding of movement, perception, and even consciousness for over a century without ever making it into the mainstream conversation. Here is what the body schema actually is. It is not a single map. It is a dynamic, multi-layered system of maps that the brain learns from sensory data, from the stretch receptors in your muscles, the pressure sensors in your skin, the vestibular system in your inner ear that tells you which way is up, the proprioceptive signals display in your body, what ring also in your body reporting its angle at every moment. Your brain takes this flood of raw data, billions of bits per second, and constructs a coherent, unified model of where your body is and what it is doing. This model is not static, it updates in real time. It can expand to include a tool you are holding, like a tennis racket or a walking stick, as if that tool has become part of your body. It can shrink after an amputation, leaving a ghost of the missing limb that still feels present, because the model has not yet updated to reflect the loss. And here is where the story gets strange. The body schema is not just a model of your physical body. It is a model of what your body can do. It is a map of possibility. When you look at flight of stairs, you do not measure the height of each step with a ruler. Your brain instantly, unconsciously, simulates whether your legs can climb them. When you look at a gap in the sidewalk, your brain simulates whether you can step across it. When you look at a chair, your brain simulates sitting in it. This is not a conscious thought. It is an automatic process, running in the background, constantly generating predictions about the world based on the capabilities of your body model. This is called affordance perception. The term was coined by the psychologist James J. Gibson in the 1970s. And what it means is that your brain does not perceive the world as a neutral collection of objects. It perceives the world as a set of invitations and warnings, invitations to act, warnings of obstacles, all calibrated to the specific dimensions and abilities of your own body. A low doorway is not just a low doorway. It is a ducking invitation. A heavy rock is not just a heavy rock. It is a lifting challenge. The world, as you experience it, is not the world as it is. It is the world as your body schema interprets it, filtered through the lens of what you can and cannot do. And this right here is where everything we think we know about strength, about balance, about aging, about rehabilitation, begins to crack open. Because if the body schema is a model of what your body can do, then changing what your body can do is not just a matter of building bigger muscles. It is a matter of updating the model, and the model, it turns out, can be updated much faster than the muscle. Let me give you a concrete example of what this means in practice, because the implications are profound, and almost entirely unknown outside of neurology and sports science. There is a well-documented phenomenon called the rubber hand illusion. You have probably seen it on YouTube. A subject sits with one arm hidden behind a screen. A fake rubber hand is placed in front of them where their real hand would be. The experimenter simultaneously strokes the hidden real hand and the visible rubber hand with a paintbrush in perfect synchrony. Within seconds, the subject begins to feel the touch as if it is coming from the rubber hand. Within a minute or two, the subject's brain has updated its body schema to include the rubber hand as part of the body. If the experimenter then suddenly hits the rubber hand a hammer, the subject flinches, their skin conductance spikes, their brain theirs. Brain registers a threat to a body part that is not theirs. This is not a parlor trick. This is a direct demonstration of the plasticity of the body schema. Your brain does not have a fixed, hardwired map of your body. It has a constantly updating Bayesian inference machine that integrates sensory evidence moment by moment and builds the most coherent possible model of what your body is and where it is. When the sensory evidence changes, when the paintbrush strokes match, the model updates. It has to. It is the only way the brain can make sense of a world that is always changing. Now, think about what this means for an aging person who has been walking for decades. Their body schema has been calibrated to a specific set of capabilities. It knows that their legs can carry them slowly across a flat surface. It knows that their balance is slightly unstable, that their ankles are weaker than they used to be. And because the body schema is a predictive model, it begins to constrain what the person even attempts. It does not just reflect their physical limits. It enforces them. The brain, knowing the model is fragile, begins to avoid situations that would challenge it. It avoids stepping onto uneven ground. It avoids standing on one leg. It avoids walking without holding onto something. The person feels this as caution, as wisdom, as being careful. But what is really happening is that their body schema is shrinking their world, one safe decision at a time. This is why walking, for all its benefits, cannot reverse the decline of the aging body. Walking reinforces the existing body schema. It does not challenge it. It tells the brain, yes, the model is correct. You can walk slowly on flat ground. That is all you can do. And the brain, being a good Bayesian learner, believes the evidence, and evidence updates the model to make walking even more efficient, and everything else even less accessible. The person becomes a better walker on flat ground, and a worse everything else. The body schema is not just a passive map. It is an active prediction engine. Every time you move, your brain generates a forward model, a prediction of the sensory consequences of that movement before they happen. It predicts the feeling of your foot hitting the ground, the stretch in your hamstring, the shift in your hamstring, the shift in your center of mass. This prediction is then compared to the actual sensory feedback. If they match, the movement feels effortless and automatic. If they do not match, if the ground is softer than expected, or your foot lands at a slight different angle, your brain generates an error signal and updates the model. This predictive machinery is the reason you can catch a ball without consciously calculating its trajectory. It is the reason you can walk on even terrain without falling. It is the reason you can reach for a cup of coffee without looking at it. Your brain is running a simulation of the physical world, and your place in it, and it is correcting that simulation hundreds of times per second based on incoming data. But here is the part that matters for strength and aging. The body schema is not just updated by movement. It is updated by imagined movement. The same neural circuits that fire when you actually perform an action also fire at a lower intensity when you merely imagine performing that action. The motor cortex, the premotor cortex, the supplementary motor area, the cerebellum, they all activate during mental rehearsal. This is why visualization works in sports. It is not magic. It is the brain updating its body schema in response to simulated experience. And this brings us to the Bulgarian split squat. Because when you perform this exercise, you are not just loading a muscle. You are forcing your body schema to update. You are placing your brain in a novel mechanical situation. One leg barely all of your body weight, the other leg trailing behind, your hip abducts stabilizing, your hip abductors firing, your core bracing. And you are asking your predictive machinery to generate a new model, a model of a body that can do this. A body that is stronger, more stable, more capable. The first time you try it, the error signals are massive. You wobble, you feel unstable. Your brain is screaming, I do not have a model for this. This is dangerous. Stop. And this discomfort, this feeling of clumsiness and weakness, is not a sign that the exercise is wrong for you. It is a sign that your body schema is being challenged. It is the exact same signal that the rubber hand illusion produces when the strokes do not match. It is the brain encountering sensory data that does not fit its current model and being forced to rebuild. This rebuilding is not slow. It happens in days, not weeks. The brain is a rapid learner when it has to be. Within 3 or 4 sessions of Bulgarian split squats, the wobble decreases. The ankle stabilizers start firing more efficiently. The hip knows where to be. The movement feels less foreign. This is not muscle growth. This is neural adaptation. This is your body schema updating to include a new capability. And once that capability is encoded in the model, it does not only apply to the exercise itself. It generalizes. The person who can do a Bulgarian split squat without wobbling can also stand on one leg to put on a sock more easily. They can walk on a slippery surface with more confidence. They can catch them before a fall. Because their brain now has a model of what a single leg stance feels like when it is stable. This is the hidden mechanism. This is why a 6-minute exercise, done 3 times a week, can produce strength gains that walking cannot touch in an hour. Walking does not challenge the body schema. It confirms it. The Bulgarian split squat forces it to expand, and an expanding body schema is an aging body's best defense against a decline. Let me take you deeper into the mechanics of how this happens, because the neural architecture involved, exquisite and almost entirely invisible. When you stand on one leg and lower your body into a Bulgarian split squat, your brain is not just sending a single command to your quadriceps. It is orchestrating a symphony of predictive and corrective signals across multiple brain regions. The cerebellum, that small collier-shaped structure at the back of your skull, is the master of timing and coordination. It receives a copy of your motor command, the efference copy, and generates a prediction of the sensory feedback you are about to receive. It predicts the exact angle your knee will be at when your thigh reaches parallel. It predicts the pressure distributions across your front foot. It predicts the tension in your glute. Then, as you descend, the actual sensory feedback arrives from your muscle spindles, your Golgi tendon organs, your joint receptors, your skin. The cerebellum compares the prediction to the reality. If there is a mismatch, it does not just note the error. It sends a corrective signal back to the motor cortex in milliseconds, adjusting the motor command. You've auto-registered the wobble. You have even consciously registered the wobble. This is happening continuously, every few milliseconds, for the entire duration of the movement. Now, here is what makes this relevant to aging. The cerebellum is one of the first brain regions to show measurable decline with age. Its volume decreases. Its Purkinje cells, the large neurons that are its primary computational units, are lost at a rate of about 2.5 per decade after age 50. This loss is directly correlated with declining balance and coordination. The predictive models generated by the aging cerebellum become less precise. The error signals become noisier. The corrections become slower. This is why older adults fall. It is not primarily because their muscles are weak. It is because their cerebellar predictions are degraded, and the corrective signals arrive too late to prevent a stumble from becoming a fall. And this is where the Bulgarian split squat reveals its second hidden layer of efficacy. By repeatedly exposing the cerebellum to a novel, high-demand balance challenge, you are not just maintaining its existing circuitry. You are driving neuroplasticity. You are forcing the surviving Purkinje cells to form new synapses, to refine their tuning curves, to rebuild the precision of their predictive models. The exercise is, in effect, a targeted cerebellar workout. Walking does not provide this stimulus because the demand is too low. The cerebellum already has an excellent model of walking on flat ground. There is no prediction error to drive learning. The Bulgarian split squat, with its single leg stance, its dynamic stabilization, its unfamiliar mechanical demands, generates massive prediction errors every single rep. And every single rep is a signal to the cerebellum to get better. This is not speculation. This is the established neuroscience of motor learning. The principle of error-driven learning in the cerebellum is one of the most well-supported theories in all of systems neuroscience, It was first proposed by David Marr in 1969 and later refined by Masao Ito. It has been confirmed by decades of electrophysiology, imaging, and behavioral studies. And it means that a 6-minute exercise that challenges your balance is doing something for your brain that a 60-minute walk cannot. It is keeping your cerebellum young. There is a third layer to this story, one that connects the body's schema to something even more fundamental, your sense of self. The philosopher neuroscientist Antonio Damasio that the most basic form of selfhood, what he calls the proto-self, is rooted in continuous, moment-by-moment mapping of the body's internal state. Your brain is constantly monitoring your height, your breathing, your blood chemistry, the tension in your muscles, the position of your limbs. This ongoing, non-conscious representation of the body is the foundation upon which all higher forms of consciousness are built. You do not feel your body schema directly, but you feel its effects. You feel it as a sense of presence, of being located in a specific place, of being a coherent self that acts upon the world. When your body schema is accurate and robust, when your cerebellar corrections are precise, and your motor corrections are fast, you feel grounded. You feel capable. You feel like you own your body. This is not a metaphor. It is a direct consequence of the neural machinery operating as it should. The brain's predictive models are generating a world that makes sense. A world in which your actions have predictable consequences. A world in which you are an effective agent. When your body schema begins to grade, when the cerebellar predictions become noisy, and the corrections arrive late, the opposite happens. You feel unsteady, you feel fragile, you feel like your body is no longer fully yours. This feeling is not just psychological. It is a reflection of a real neurological decline. The brain's model of the body is becoming less coherent, and the sense of self that is built on top of that model is becoming less stable. This is why the subjective experience of doing Bulgarian squats is so different from the subjective experience of walking. Walking feels like maintenance. It feels like you are holding steady. The Bulgarian split squat feels like construction. It feels like you are actively rebuilding something that was decaying, and that feeling is not just a motivational trick. It is your brain detecting the error signals, detecting the mismatch between prediction and reality, and registering that learning is happening, The wobble you feel on your first rep is the sound of your cerebellum being asked to do something it has not done in years. The steadiness you feel after a few weeks is the sound of it succeeding. Let me ground all of this in a specific study, because the data is what separates this from motivational talk. In 2004, a team led by Dr. Miquel Izquierdo at the Public University of Navarra in Spain published a paper in the Journal of the American Medical Directors Association. They took 40 older adults, average age 81, living in a nursing home, and put half of them through a 2-week resistance training program that included single-leg exercise similar to the Bulgarian split squat. The other half continued their normal activities, which included walking. After 22 weeks, the resistance training group had increased their leg strength by an average of 4% of N74%. Their walking speed increased by 28%. Their ability to stand up from a chair without using their hands improved by 33%. The walking-only group showed no significant change in any of these measures. This is not an outlier. A 2018 meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine by Dr. Matthew Hancock and colleagues reviewed 40 randomized controlled trials on resistance training in older adults. They found that progressive resistance training produced a 30 to 50% improvement in muscle strength, a 20% in chair rising, stair climbing, in improvement performance, like stair climbing and chair rising, and a significant reduction in fall risk. The effect size was largest for exercises that challenged balance and single-leg stability. Now, think about what these numbers mean in human terms. A 1.74% increase in leg strength at age 81 is not a small improvement. It is the difference between being unable to get out of a chair and being able to stand up without using your hands. It is the difference between needing help to walk to the bathroom and being able to walk independently. It is the difference between a fall that breaks a hip and a stumble that you catch before you hit the ground. And the mechanism for these gains is not just muscle hypertrophy. At age 8-1, significant muscle growth is possible but limited. The primary driver of these strength gains is neural adaptation. The brain learns to recruit more motor units, to fire them more synchronously, to inhibit the antagonist muscles more effectively. The body schema updates. The cerebellar predictions become more precise. The nervous system becomes more efficient at commanding the muscle that is still there. This is the hidden science. This is what nobody tells you when they tell you to walk. Walking does not drive neural adaptation. It does not force your brain to recruit more motor units. It does not challenge your cerebellar predictions. It does not expand your body schema. It maintains what you already have. And if what you already have is declining, maintenance is not enough. You need to build. The Bulgarian split squat is a building tool, not a maintenance tool. It is a hammer, not a polish. So let me bring this back to where we started. Your hand, your nose, the dark, and the impossible precision of a movement you never thought about. That movement was possible because your brain runs a silent, continuous simulation of your body, a body schema that is refined on days movement and challenge. But here is the uncomfortable truth that the body schema will never tell you. If you stop challenging it, it stops refining. It begins to shrink. It begins to accept a smaller world as the only world. The Bulgarian split squat is not magic. It is not a shortcut. It is a way of speaking to your nervous system in a language it understands, the language of novel mechanical demand. It is a way of telling your cerebellum, I need you to build a better model. It is a way of telling your motor cortex, I need you to recruit every available motor unit. It is a way of telling your body schema, the world is bigger than you think. Update, and the update happens fast, faster than muscle can grow, faster than anyone expects. The wobble of the first week becomes the steadiness of the fourth week. The 5 reps that felt like everything become the 10 reps that feel like nothing. The balance that required a wall becomes the balance that requires nothing. This is not just strength. This is neural rewiring. This is your brain learning to be young again in the specific ways that matter for staying upright, for staying alive, for staying independent, for staying alive. If you are 30, start now and you will enter your 40s stronger than you entered your 30s. If you are 50, start now and you will enter your 60s with legs that do not betray you. If you are 70, start now and you will enter your 80s as the person who can still get up from the floor, who can still climb the stairs, who can stace a grandchild across the yard. The research is clear. The mechanism is understood. The only variable is whether you decide to act. Find a couch, find a chair, stand in front of it. Rest one foot behind you. Lower down, once, just to feel it. That feeling is your body schema being asked to expand. That feeling is your cerebellum being asked to learn. That feeling is bonding of a transformation that walking cannot give you. Your body has been waiting for this conversation. It has been waiting for you to ask it to do something. It does not already know how to do. Tonight in your socks, while the tea is brewing, you can begin. 6 minutes, 3 times a week. That is all it takes to tell your brain that the model needs updating. And once the model updates, everything changes. The ground feels more solid. The stairs feel shorter. The future